This conversation about building up your blueprint. It's time to take it, cause time is wasted. Go grind and chase it, don't lose it. This generation need integration with information to move with. An inclination that is abiding in entertaining improvement. Yep.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Respect My Blueprint. This is your main man, your host, your Blueprint Mastermind. This is a platform where we go ahead and give you the blueprint and the recipes to success. And we are not falling any short today as guys. This is the platform we bring leaders, entrepreneurs, business mindset individuals to share their recipes success and also to give strategies on how you'll be able to get to the next level. And I am super excited for today's guest, guys. I hope you're ready. Okay, I want you to buckle up, okay, because today's guest here we have a rock star in the business culture world here, okay, and he is the founder and CEO of Blackribbit, okay, a culture branding agency that is revolutionizing the concept of leadership, inspiration, and also teaching entrepreneurs how to thrive in today's marketplace. Okay. Now, obviously, CEOs, they're stuck in the old school mindset. Today's guest, he's going to teach us on innovative features as well as tech strategies on how to be able to go ahead and lead the charge on how to enlighten leadership, employee well-being, and most importantly, how to shape the future of humanity in the business world in 2025 and beyond. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, he's not just about profits. He is also about purpose as well too. So buckle up. I hope you are super excited for today's show and my guest. So if you're ready to revolutionize your business mindset, let's welcome the visionary himself, the one and only Nader Safinya. How are you doing today, my friend?
Thank you so much for having me, Wesley. I don't even know what an intro. Oh my God, I'm speechless. That was I'm blown away by
Well,
that
we're just not
intro.
about the blueprint here. We're about also rolling out the red carpet. Okay, so listen, I had to give it to you, my friend.
Yeah, I hope I live up to that introduction. Thank you so much. It's such an honor being here, honestly.
Well, we are super glad to have you here. I'm glad we're able to facilitate this and make this happen. I've had the opportunity, offline to be able to not only view your company's website, which is a very, very, you know, uh, uh, compelling and vibrant website, by the way. Okay, I love it. I love it. It's not your typical WordPress website, static website that you go on, but also I had the opportunity to take a look at your YouTube channel, some of the guests that you had on there, the Frog podcast that you have, which I kind of spoiled the beans a little bit. I wanted to give you an opportunity to share on that. But so I had an opportunity to, take a deep dive into yourself. But for the audience here that's viewing today's episode who don't know who you are, what you're about, and what led you to building up the platform you have, if you could share a pitch and a backstory of yourself, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks again for the endless compliments, man. I seriously appreciate it. The
You're welcome.
the so my story is far and wide. It's quite long. So I typically start at the end. I start from here. I am, like you said, Nader Safinya. I am the principal and founder of this company called Blackribbit that I launched in 2019. Actually launched in 2018, rebranded as Blackribbit in 19. And the culture branding agency was born about 2 years ago when our own story became very crystal clear and my vision for the future of Blackribbit and what I'm trying to sort of change through the experiences that I've undergone myself became crystal clear. And the whole sort of essence of how I'm defining a culture brand is a company that is truthful in what it says. And essentially the external brand identity and the marketing and the messaging that the company projects is accurately and truthfully reflective of the company culture that they cultivate and foster inside their own company. So in essence, to
Okay.
be very, very simple about it, they do what they say they're doing. They're just honest in their messaging. And so
Make, makes sense.
so
Okay.
right. And so that and that truth is evident in every single touch point within with that organization, whether it's through the marketing, whether it's through advertising, whether it's through company client onboarding, whether it's through customer acquisition, to interviewing, to employee onboarding, to employee training, to leadership training, down to how you write your contracts, to how you write your job descriptions, to how your interview process goes, to everything, literally everything. And that's a gap that I noticed through my own experiences. When in 2021, I was looking for work because it was post COVID. The market was in insane flux, as we all know. That's when the Great
Yeah.
Resignation happened. I too was looking for work because my company business was not going well. 21 was a really bad year, and I applied to
Right.
460 jobs. This is a new company owner. Yeah, this is a new company owner, someone with over 15 years of field experience, a master's degree, no
Mm.
shortage of success and quality case studies and so on. And I got one interview and I got like 40
Damn.
rejections. Yeah. And I got like 40 rejections from a robot, clearly a robot. And roughly that would leave me with about 400 ghosted emails, ghosted applications, no feedback or anything. And this is not just my story. This is a story that's resonates with a lot of people. I'm literally hearing this story online all the time. I heard it this week from another number of people, and on and on and on and on. And that lack of feedback makes you feel insane. Like you start feeling like you're in a black hole with no mirrors, and you're like, am I doing anything wrong? Am I doing something right? I honestly have no clue what I'm doing. And as a human, I require feedback to improve myself. As a designer, it's my lifeline. It's like my oxygen.
Or-
I can't do anything without feedback. I literally get stuck. I go, okay, well, what am I even fixing here? What am I improving? If everything is speculative, then what's the point of anything? So,
Makes sense.
so that is when I started, studying what was going on, and I realized, okay, there's a gap between the employee and employer relationship. There's a gap between what the market sees and what the market gets, what the market hears and what the market experiences. And I noticed that the first place that this gap exists is in the job application process. So you have branding, you have
Mhm.
marketing, you have sales, and even leadership focused primarily on the customer experience, that they neglect the employee experience. And then you have like talent strategists, HR, recruiting agencies, and change management focused on the employee experience. And these two sides never talk. So you have this major disconnect. And what's going on inside is not reflected outside, and what's happening outside is not experienced inside. And so, and again, this is first noticeable with the job application. When is the last time you read a job description that describes how that job is going to impact your quality of life?
That's a
Probably
very,
never.
very good point. Yeah, very good point. It's a place of employment, a job, and the application is one of those Office Max generic applications, right? It's not doesn't even give you that comprehensive feel that okay, what is beyond my responsibilities and duties about, right? You have a good point
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then you start asking why? Like, why is that? It's interesting. It's one of the highest touch points that an organization is ever going to have. It's crazy how little care is put into that model, into that process, into that interaction. And you have like Indeed, LinkedIn, whatever, Craigslist, whatever I don't even know if Monster and these places still exist, but like they have these stats that say, 750, 1,000, whatever people have applied for this job, but that doesn't indicate how many people have seen that job posting and have read it and have interacted with it. So, it's this insanely high touch point that's just very, it feels kind of, put on the back burner, like very little effort has been put into this thing. And now with AI tools, they're just spitting out job descriptions, and we're so trained in reading them that the way they are, in the way that they are. I didn't notice this myself until a year ago because of our we're just trained in this. We're like, we read them as project briefs. And now with, open salaries, we're like, oh my God, I'm going to get paid 120 grand to take this job, or I'm going to get paid 90 grand to work on this project. And to your point, you don't think about signing your life away. You don't think about how it's going to impact your home life, if you have children, if they're going to see you, if they're not going to see you, if you can drive to work, if you can't drive to work, if it's fully remote, like all the stuff. We're going to take care of your kids. We're going to take care of your spouse. All you see is a little thing that says you get 401k. It's a equal opportunities job. By the way, here's all the stuff you're going to do for us, and forget what we're going to do for you. You need to be on your knees, like thanking us that you get the opportunity to even apply for this job because it's the greatest thing on earth for you, because you get to do all this stuff for us. So where in that is it telling me how I'm going to benefit from this? Because I get to work with the smartest minds on the planet? Maybe. Okay, great.
Yeah. which brings, it brings me to a good question here, right? And we seem like we're in the same era here, right? It's safe to say we're born in the 80s, 70s
Yeah.
per se, or something like that, right? And growing up, right, you wanted a job, you would have to go to sections of the newspaper and look for an actual job and go to an interview and everything. The old school, traditional, conventional way of applying for a job, right? Circle it, right? Now you brought up a point where it's now Indeed, you have LinkedIn, you have you said a Monster, and all these other job and now with AI coming in and everything, this new school of job applicants and applying for a job has been largely disconnected, right? And I think what also further amplified that was COVID. Obviously, with COVID, everybody being locked down, social distancing, everybody staying home, and the world is slowly trying to even trickle back into bringing people into the place now. So the way society is, it's so hard to build a culture. It's so hard to hire talent, where the recruiting process, the employment process, and the HR process is so disconnected. However, companies are starting to feel the effect. Is like, man, we want that old school traditional way of being able to build a company culture, but the way society is structured nowadays is preventing that. So how do you, with obviously with Blackribbit, you're trying to solve that problem. How do you think is there's a way to solve that problem with, trying to merge the old school and the new school, in other words?
Yeah, that's a perfect observation, because that is, herein lies the conflict, because you have the largest generational gap that the market has ever seen, ever. You have people who are still in the workplace who are literally 90 years old, and then you have people who are like 18. It's 72 years apart. And they they physically can't talk to each other. They don't speak the same language. They can't. It's very difficult for them to interact. And then you have,
Right.
at that level, you still have very old school companies, like you said, old school management and old school and at this point archaic leadership styles and management styles and so on that worked for a certain generation and during a certain point of society and certain point in history, and it just doesn't work anymore. The workforce's desires have changed, lifestyles has changed. And I always say this, Gen Z, God bless them, they don't take shit from anybody, and they're ruffling feathers. They're just like,
Right.
I really don't care. Like, I care about travel. I want a good quality of life. I care about well-being. They don't. The alcohol industry is tanking because of that generation. They don't drink and party as much.
Mm.
They care more about,
Yeah.
health and wellness and state of mind and all this. And no matter how you slice it, that's the reality, for better or for worse. And in my opinion, it's for the better, but in others, it's for the worse. And it just depends on how you sort of balance that kind of a lifestyle with what's necessary to be collaborative and cooperative and collective in society, because society still needs people to work. You still need people to contribute and give back and make money and contribute to the new technologies and new innovations of whatever you're talking about, whether it's a state of life or well-being or infrastructure or otherwise. And so the model that I've put together, the culture branding program, uh, is rooted in design thinking. So the first step
Right.
in trying to solve this problem is empathy, is just trying to understand what is going on and to be very clear and self-reflective and admitting that you don't know what's going on. Stop assuming that you know everybody. I've spoken to COOs, when I introduce the culture branding program to potential prospects and so on, and they tell me, "Oh, we don't need that. I know every single person on my team like the back of my hand." I've heard this verbatim. And then we're talking about a team of like 70 people, maybe
Oh, yeah.
even 30. And brother, if you have one person on your team and you tell me that, I will tell you you're arrogant. Like, every single time. Like, you don't know your kids inside and out. You don't know your folks inside and out. You don't know your best friend
True.
inside and out. Like, really, really, really know them inside and out. It takes a lot of care and listening and time and commitment and involvement in someone else's life to know them that well. So, a what the culture branding program does is that it brings to light and to the surface the reality of people's lives and people's lifestyles in a way that's non-intrusive, but in a way that's transparent, so that you as a leader can start to build and form a structure around those personalities and those lifestyles to really create a culture that's adaptive but scalable, that's systematic but flexible, and allows for growth, allows for what's the sustainability, allows for any sort of malleable kind of need that you have, because it's designed, because it's built within a system, within a structure, within parameters. Which I always like to say this, you have to build the box to think outside of it. That's how you become innovative within
Ah,
your within your
I
own
like
system and your own structure and your organization and otherwise. But you have to build the parameters first. Then you can start to scale it in a way that makes sense for everybody who's going to come and work for your company. The thing is, we all know this. Not everybody is fit for everything. So if you have a sensible system in place that takes into account the kinds of people, the kinds of personalities that are built for this kind of an environment, for your organization's kind of an environment, then you're already
that.
miles ahead, because you're screening with respect to people's time. Like the job description again, if you get specific in that job description about expectations and how you're going to impact their quality of life, you will screen them instantly. There's going to be a bunch of people who are going to be like, I'm not interested. I don't even care. I don't want to do this. Great. There's a bunch of other opportunities. Now we don't have to waste each other's time.
Right. You can filter it out. Which let me ask you a question. How, how important is culture brand company's bottom line?
Oh, that's a great question. Because everything I'm describing affects a company's brand. The brand, right? If a brand is which this is the best definition of a brand. It's Marty Neumeier's definition. It's a gut feeling about a person, place, or thing. We as strategists or designers, we don't create the brand. We only influence how a brand is, how an organization is seen in the minds of the market or an audience. They are the ones who define what it is. So we as that's why it's called brand strategy. We create a map with touch points and milestones and points of influence that guide our audience to a place where we go, okay, this is what we want you to always think. This is what we want you to think. So we create experiences that result in only a few certain kinds of reactions, which equate to what we want that brand to be. So in the sense of how does this impact the bottom line, when you have bought in employees who really want to work at said organization, who want to be there, who can answer why they would want to be there, because it improves their quality of life, because they have learning opportunities, because they have growth opportunities, because they have career opportunities, because they feel supported, because they know their family feels supported, and so on. That creates, and there's so much data to back this up, not just from my work, but just in the market. When you feel seen and you feel supported and you feel like you matter, and that your work matters, and that your contribution matters, and that your efforts matter, then you will work hard. You will work hard, and you will work smart, and you will ask questions when you don't know what to do, and you will figure things out, and you will be more productive. And this is proven time and time and time again. And so when you have a more productive, more bought in, more healthy workforce, that becomes instantly recognizable in the market. The output is higher quality. The customer relations become higher quality. Sales processes become higher quality. The customers start to feel it, because everything that you're describing and talking about in the market is now being reflected through the experiences that you create with anyone who interacts with your company, aka your brand. So now your brand equity goes up, which means the value of your brand goes up, which means the market will start bidding on your company because they want to have a piece of it. So they're going to start sending out notices saying, we want to buy your company, we want to buy your company, we want to buy your company. And now you have the power to be like, we don't want to sell. We're just going to wait for the highest bidder.
Right. It's like, hold on, no, not yet, right? Okay. So, which let me, when say you work, let's take a hypothetical situation, right? You're on a company reaches out to you, uh a startup, they're getting off the ground and everything like that, and they want to hire you to be able to go ahead and build a company culture. They feel like you could bring great value to the company. What do you focus on, leadership or the workforce in building the company?
Yeah, that's also a really good question. And it's usually, so if it's a startup, yeah, that is a good question. The quick answer is it depends on the size of the company. It depends on how many people work there.
Okay.
So, there are some startups who are like 5 people. There are some startups who are 50 people. So it just kind of depends. However, the model that the culture branding program is rooted in a model that I created called the inside outside in model. So what that means is that we start inside the company by understanding what the purpose of this company even is. What is the vision? This is where the brand strategy development comes into play right from the get-go, because we start with research. In the design thinking model, you have, again, empathize first. So seek to understand what the hell is even going on here. I don't
What's
want
under
you
the
to
hood? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's a diagnostic, it's an evaluation. So like, I don't want you to tell me what your vision is. I want you to tell me what you believe the purpose of this company is, in your opinion. And once you tell me that, I'm going to go ask a whole bunch of people that work for you the same question. And I'm going to ask people across the board. I'm going to ask employees, middle management. I'm going to ask the custodians. I'm going to ask security guards, like if they exist in your ecosystem. But I talk to everybody, not just leadership, not just middle management, because I want to know how everybody feels about this. And then we talk to customers, we talk to partners, we talk, if Wes, if everything falls where it needs to fall, this happens rarely, but it does happen. We talk to former employees. We talk to former
Okay.
employees. We talk to former customers. That's where the real gold
Ah,
is. And
dig deep.
so yeah, that's where like the magic happens, because you realize you really understand some truths about what was and why they no longer are there or whatever. And if they left in
Okay.
contention or on good terms or otherwise. So to answer your question, I start with everybody, because I want to know what's going on in total. And then I start talking to leadership about what they want it to be. So we talk about what you want it to be, and then we talk about what it actually is. And then we talk about how do we actually merge these two. And in addition to that, we as strategists need to come in and, we need to be honest in a way that's sometimes uncomfortable. We have to be like, well, what you want it to be isn't really realistic because of X, Y, and Z, because you're dealing with a certain kind of population, or because you're dealing with certain um, market fluctuations or situations that and realities that just don't fit what you want it to be. There needs to be some adjustments here or considerations made to make sure that what you're building actually drives the brand that you're trying to create over time, so that you can grow into something. And that's
Right.
where strategy always comes into play, because we're talking about a long game. We're trying to create a destination here so that you can grow into something that people are going to want to buy from and people are going to want to work for. And sometimes that doesn't match what you want. And that's a hard truth for a lot of people.
Right. Especially, and you that's twice now in our conversation and in the questions I've asked you, you've brought up a very key word that I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs overlook, and that's brand, right? Um, you have a lot of businesses, they, how it is when you're ready to start a business, right? You're all hype, you're all energetic, and you're passionate,
Yeah.
which a lot of entrepreneurs, they're just passionate. They have this idea or this product they want to release and everything. And they think, oh, just building a website, having a logo, and having a product or service, that
Yeah.
right there is the answer. But if you could just share on insight on how important it is to build a brand, because you have from the Pepsis to the Nikes to the Fords to the Facebooks and everything like that. When like when Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook in his garage, and when Jeff Bezos started Amazon and everything like that, these guys had a 15-20 year vision of building a brand and building these multi-billion-dollar generational companies. So if you could kind of give the audience a little bit how important it is to focus on building a brand versus building a company as the starting point in building your business.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, they go hand in hand because a brand is a consequence of what you do. A brand is a consequence of the experiences that you create.
Right,
So, it's,
right, right.
when I talk about what we do, we say, like most branding agencies, we say we create brands, but that's not an accurate statement. But it's the easiest way to describe what we do for people to understand it. What's different about it's what I said earlier. We don't create the brand. We create brand strategies, which means we create a plan of action to manifest the brand in the minds of the audience. Because this is the point. I use this analogy all the time. If your marketing is your invitation and your customer is your guest, then your brand is your party. Okay?
Oh, I
So
like that.
if you don't have marketing, then your brand doesn't exist. You don't know, like, nobody knows that it's there. If you don't send out an
Nobody know the
invitation,
party's
no
there.
one's yeah, nobody knows that the party is there. So therefore it doesn't exist because the party
Right,
hasn't been created in the minds of the guests. The second they come
right.
to your party, now they're like, "Oh, this is a real thing. This is a reality. Let's go talk about it." And then people are going to be like, "Did you go to Wes's party? That party is awesome." "Well, what's the party like?" "Oh, it's got a cool vibe. It's got a kind of like old school disco vibe. It's this, is that, is whatever they want to describe it as." And that becomes the brand. That becomes your party. And so it's the same thing. I don't, when you ask, is it more important to focus on building the brand or the company? It's, you got to build the company and then tell people about it. So when you tell people
Okay.
about it, that's when the brand becomes a real thing. That's when the brand starts manifesting. And so this is where it gets tricky because you the brand is a consequence of you defining your purpose, your values, your drive, your vision, like what it is you're trying to do. Answer the question, why would anyone want to buy from you and why would anyone want to work for you? When you can answer that question clearly, then things start to manifest. Now you start developing operations that can deliver on that experience. By the way, the answer to those questions is a single statement in my culture branding program. The answer is because we value X, Y, and Z, and we want people to experience A, B, and C. So at Blackribbit,
Okay.
ours is we value reliability, compassion, and deliberate action. And we want people to experience compassionate design. So everything we do has to fit into that narrative. That means our
Right.
operations have to fit into this narrative. Our finance management has to fit into this narrative. The way we write our contracts have to fit into this narrative. So that every
Mhm.
time anyone experiences anything that comes from Blackribbit, whether they're an employee or a customer, they feel compassionate design. And then the brand becomes a culture branding agency that offers compassionate design. And so
Right.
every time anyone talks about Blackribbit, they talk about these points in some way, shape, or form. They'll go describe Blackribbit. Oh, they're really reliable. They make me feel seen. They're super good at communicating. They listen. They deliver on time. All of these fit into they're reliable, they're compassionate, and they're deliberate. And they make compassionate design because I feel these things. And that's down to like my internship contracts, like how I write
Wow.
my interns contracts. They feel like they're going to be contributing. There's a culture of ownership here. So again, when we talk about, we're not, we create the thing that makes branding necessary. We come in and design your develop your define your purpose. Like, why do you exist? Why should anyone care? Why should anyone want to
Right.
buy from you? Why should anyone want to work for you? And then once that's clear, now you can create the branding. Now you can create your logo. Now you can create your messaging. Now you can create all that stuff that delivers the purpose behind why you exist, so that everyone who interacts with your brand at any time ever globally, whether it's through a commercial or a contract, feels the same way.
Okay. What now? Here's a great question. If you could share with the audience, can you give us a testimonial or insight of a company that you end up working with and you has been able to go ahead and help take them to the next level? How you've been able to go ahead and use your formula and have been able to go ahead and seen some extraordinary results
Yeah,
for?
absolutely. I mean, the first one is kind of an older study because, but it's a really good one. We
Okay.
helped a excuse me. It's story from COVID. We helped a therapeutic massage center in New York, that was located in Brooklyn, uh, through COVID. They came to us right at the end of 2019. Excuse me, and they wanted a rebrand. They wanted to refresh their brand. They felt it was not resonating with the right audience and so on. So we came and did what we do, and we started at the foundation. We asked them all the questions that we ask, understood why they exist, what is their differentiator, why anyone would want to buy from them, why any employees would want to work for them, why other massage therapists would want to be hired by them, and so on. And they and then COVID hit, and New York had very strict COVID laws. There was a lot of regulations against in-person contact and so on. So a lot of these practices that required in-person contact, like massage therapists, had to shut down. But because of the program that we built for them, they were able to pivot in a way that made sense for the brand and made sense for their culture brand statement to start generating business online. So they created a online practice for home self remedies and self-care and so on, and they doubled their business through the year of COVID because of it. Okay, they were shut down, the
Doubled their
studio was
business.
closed. They doubled they 2 times. They doubled their business at the end of the year, after a year after we launched, which was total about I want to say 14 months since we launched it, and then 14 months later, by 2021, they had doubled their business.
Wow. Okay. Damn.
Yeah, and
Interesting. Interesting.
another one, yeah. There's like a bunch. Another one is a recent one. They're a uh, they're a business development organization that helps businesses and independent entrepreneurs and solo practitioners with private practices build business, develop more business by offering them business development teams. So essentially, members of this organization join smaller groups of 12 people to join a group of a 12-person business development team. So it's like having a 12-person business development team in your own company, but it's external. So it's like a biz dev arm to your organization. This is a new organization. They had
Right.
2 chapters until the end of last year, until about January of this year. We rebranded them and redeveloped their entire narrative and their purpose statement and everything, and went in there again from the ground up, redefined who they are, why anyone should care, and how to present that to the market so that it's reflective of their internal culture externally. And we
Right.
launched the rebrand at the end of February. It's what, mid-April right now. They just added 6 new chapters. So now they're at 8. Um after being at 2 for like 2 years. So Just in 6 weeks, they added 6 new chapters, and they're still adding more. And each chapter has 12 members. So it's
Wow.
in the numbers, and their operations are more clear. Their operations are demanding more resources. So they're already growing just after not even 2 months of release of relaunching the brand.
So you, it, and it's very fascinating how, I think the audience have really in a good insight on the importance of building a brand and how culture can be that spark plug. I mean, to be honest with you, it could really be the the death of companies, right? If you have if you don't have the right, if you're implementing it, like you said, a brand is, what defines a company. It goes out like a service that you sell, and if it's something that is portrayed to the entire world. And I feel like now what today's conversation and what the listeners are able to extract from today's conversation is the importance of that, which that was really, the point that I really wanted to share. And that's something, even the point of the show, the blueprint, right? And I feel like that is a blueprint that somebody, as far as aspiring or new entrepreneurs, need to implement in their business practice and everything like that. When you're building the blueprint of your business, go beyond just having the business plan, the X and O's of the paper, but actually the brand is that living, breathing essence,
Yeah.
that extension of your business that you really need to also focus on and everything. So, as we're ready to wrap up, I wanted to see if you can give, any final thoughts as far as when it comes to, the blueprint of building your business, especially in the essence of building the company culture, like you are the expertise at, what is one piece of advice you would like to share with the audience as far as when it comes to the blueprint of building the culture or the brand of your business?
Yeah, so it's it's actually a self-reflective exercise. This is at the core of what I do, and the culture branding program is the two questions. Why would anyone want to work for you, and why would anyone want to buy from you? Right? If you can answer those
Yeah.
two questions, then your life becomes inherently more simple, and decision making becomes simple. So now everything becomes a yes or no question. Does it fit into this response, or does it not fit into this response? And if it doesn't, toss it out. And if it does, let's see how we can integrate it. And that goes down to process, to operations, to systems, to policies, to, you know, material, to office supplies, to everything.
Yeah.
And and the so but but the exercise is actually quite simple and can be very daunting. So you flip the script and you ask yourself, would you work for you, or would you buy from you? And and
Good
the
question.
key of this exercise is to look at yourself in the mirror and point at yourself, and make eye contact with yourself. And you can't ask, would I work for me? Because you're still talking about yourself as yourself. You have to address yourself as a
Right.
third party. That's when it gets awkward.
Right.
So you look at yourself deep in your eyes. I'm telling you, try this later. It's weird. And you go, would you want to work for you?
Okay.
Like aggressively, just be like, would you want to buy from you? And see what you say. It's an
Hmm.
interesting exercise, because no matter your response, it's interesting. If you say yes, dig at that. Why would you? Why would you want to? Can you translate that to other people? If you say no, that's also interesting. Why wouldn't you want to?
Interesting. Yeah.
So, and that's when you really
Wow.
start
I
peeling
like
at,
that.
at
You're actually gonna have me do that exercise too. Although I may have to watch how I may poke myself in the mirror, like, Wes, listen, man, do you want to buy from yourself? Okay, so, but no, you're absolutely right. And I feel like that is two questions that a lot of entrepreneurs need to ask themselves and formulate their company around. Would you want to work for yourself? Would you want to buy from? So I'm glad that you know you was able to share that. I think that is something that's universal. It doesn't matter if you have a hot dog stand or if you
Yeah.
have, a seven figure company. It's applicable across the board there,
Yeah.
and I hope the audience definitely, was able to go ahead and in on that piece of advice and use that and implement that in their business strategies and being able to build their business culture. But before we go ahead and today's show, I know 2025 is, we're about to hit no, we are in Q2 to be exact. Do you
Yeah.
have anything that's awesome down the pipeline? Do you have anything you want to share? Any events? Any products or services? Anything that
Mhm.
you want to go ahead and share with the audience for them to look forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the opportunity. As we speak right now, we're gearing up for the summer, which is typically a slow season, especially for consultants and B2B companies. I have an offer on the table for uh, startups who either are targeting certain revenue goals or are already making like 3 to 5 to 10 million a year. Even if you're targeting these numbers, this offer is perfect for you because the rule of thumb is that you should be spending 1% of your target revenue goals on strategy alone, which is what I would be doing. That's my space. So if you want to, for example, hit 3 million in annual revenue as a small company, you should be spending about $30,000 on strategy to develop your strategy to get you to that point. Um, and I'm offering a what I'm calling a 72-hour brand sprint that delivers instant brand clarity, a culture brand playbook and story, market segmentation and customer demographics, employee demographics and segmentation, a 90-day rollout plan, and 30 days support from me that you're all going to get in under a week. So in 3 days, which is a over $35,000 offer for $7,500. Okay. 7,500
Ooh.
bucks for under a week delivery. And I'm inviting the first 5 founders who listen to this to DM me on LinkedIn the word sprint, SPRINT, by May 1st. If you get in the door by May 1st, you will get this insane offer for 7,500 bucks and you'll be set up for the rest of the year and actually years to come to hit that mark of your own revenue goals. Regardless of what your revenue goal is, 7,500 bucks in and out the door.
Man, listen, I hope the audience take advantage of this exclusive great offer that you just provided there. Man, I mean, you're offering typically $30,000 men or suggest for a business owner to spend on this particular type of sprint and consulting right here, but and you're offering it for $7,500. If I got that right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's basically what it is. And it's
Yeah.
because I want to help younger companies that need to sort of get a leg up, who have growth aspirations and
Right.
believe in, the power of nurturing your people to get you to that number. And I know it's difficult to get that strategy up front. You have to invest up front though. You can't ignore it. If you want to hit those numbers, you got to invest ahead of time. And I'm giving you an opportunity here to get something really fast for an insane deal that will get you where you want to go.
Right. I usually tell my girl this all the time. It takes money to make money, and uh, it. investing in yourself, investing in your business. And not only that, the power of mentorship, the power of empowerment, self-enlightenment. These are things that are just necessary if you want to evolve, if you want to grow. I mean, we're in 2025. You see AI nowadays. There's competition here, guys, ladies and gentlemen. There's competition for us human beings. So you got to be able to stay sharp. You got to be on your A game. And, you know, what you're offering is just another example of that. So I hope, you know, it's only offered to the, you know, 5 founders, guys. So again, send a DM on LinkedIn. The word is sprint, you said, right? DM you sprint to be able to take advantage of this offer. Okay, awesome, awesome. Also, before we leave, if you could go ahead, you did mention LinkedIn, which that's how we've also been able to connect as well too. But if you could share with the audience, what's a great way they could follow you if there's, you know, outside of LinkedIn, or if there's preferably LinkedIn, if you want everybody to follow you as well too. If you could just share that really quick before we end today's show.
Sure. Yeah, the easiest way to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. It's just my full name is my handle, Nader Safinya. You can also go to the website, blackribbit.com. But again, to get in touch with me directly, I'm very responsive. Wes can attest to that. And just hit me up on LinkedIn directly, and I'll get back to you.
All right, Nadir. Well, thank you so much. Today has been an awesome show. And like I mentioned before off topic, you know, I like to go off the energy. I had a whole thing of show notes here, but I really didn't even go off the notes. I just went off our conversation. And, you know, it's funny, the topic of the show is going to be about leadership, but I can see the energy of the show really was more on culture and branding and everything like that. And I think, you know, the audience would appreciate that a lot more because, you know, again, when you're building a company, it's not just about the leadership. It's more about, again, the branding and the culture that you need to cultivate within the company. And I was glad we was able to go ahead and really talk about that. But glad you was able to have today's show with us. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, the link to be able to go ahead and reach out and to be able to take advantage of and send him a DM, the word sprint. He's only offering is to 5 founders up until May 1st, $7,500. You guys will be able to work with one of the powerhouses here on building a culture and a brand for your business. So, you know, definitely take advantage of this. You'll be able to catch this episode, guys, every Friday as well as every Tuesday. Glad we was able to have you. Listen, keep doing awesome things. Keep doing great things. And I'm definitely looking forward to see some of the companies that you're able to help take to the next level in 2025 and beyond. All right, brother?
Wes, thank you so much, brother. It was such a pleasure being here. It was an honor speaking to you, and thank you for having me.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, again, make sure you are safe out there. And as always, we are going to catch you on the flip side. All right, take care, guys.
Blueprint, yeah. Blueprint. This conversation about building up your blueprint. It's time to take it, cause time is wasted. Go grind and chase it, don't lose it. This generation need integration with information to move with. An inclination that is abiding in entertaining improvement. Yep, Wes Paul with Blueprint. This guests are exclusive. Get on and tune in and then learn some new tips about credit, finance, investment. A nice chance to get rich and buy land. Flip it, quick 9 bands. Learn all the skills from Wes, he did it. Learn how to build successful business. Run up a mill and get the digits. Run up a mill. Look, safe place where guests are speaking. Based off financial freedom. All facts, no cap, believe it. Podcast, you have to see it.